Happy Labor Day and welcome to A Second Chance. My name is Philip Jones. As always, I have my brother, Mr. Farrell Cook, and our special guest today is Mr. Shane Blanchard of Midwest Kidney Warriors. How you doing, gentlemen?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Doing
Yes,
well,
sir.
thank you.
Always good to hear, Mr. Cook. Well, we're gonna get straight into it. You know, Shane, how we get down over here, we get straight to the story. That's what we're here for. So, Mr. Blanchard, the floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, so my name's Shane Blanchard. I live here in Iowa. I was born with a rare disorder called Eagle-Barrett syndrome, where basically means I was born without abdominal muscles. One of the side effects of that is, kidneys tend to not work, as well as other things within the urinary tract. But my kidney stopped working when I was 21 years old. I got a kidney transplant when I was 22, and I received that kidney from my brother. And he was 25 at the time when we had that transplant. So the kidney lasted me about 23 and a half years. So until about 2.5 years ago, the kidney did fail. And I actually did get a second transplant at that time from my best friend, Brad Hendrickson. There were complications during the procedure, and the kidney ended up not being able to remain. So it was removed actually on Thanksgiving Day. Yeah, it was Thanksgiving Day they removed that kidney. And so now I was back on hemodialysis there for just a little over a year, and then finished and was able to get back onto peritoneal dialysis. So I've been looking for a kidney donor now for about 2.5 years. So that's a little bit of my story in a nutshell of what's caused it and where I'm at today.
So,
So
what
do
was
you?
Oh, go ahead, cause I'm sorry.
No. You go. You go.
So what was the reason, or did they tell you why your first transplant failed?
Yeah, it was actually there was some stuff that wasn't done correctly during the procedure. For when it
Mm-hmm.
was hooked up, there's a certain way that it's supposed to be stitched, and it wasn't stitched right. And so after they closed me up, I had started that stitch didn't hold, and I ended up bleeding into my abdominal area. And then they went back in to correct it, and then it ended up doing the same thing again. And so they tried to place a couple stents. They did a stent that didn't work. They tried another stent that didn't work, and so within 14 days it had to be removed.
Well, no, that's the second one, right?
Yeah, that was the second
Right.
transplant.
So the first one, did they say why the first
Yeah,
one rejected?
yeah, it just ran its course. I was taking Prograf for about 21 years. That can cause some scarring on the kidney. The other thing is just, time. They said it can happen. You can get, on average, you get 10 to 15 years, out of a living related donor. Some people go 20 and 30 years. It just depends on the kidney. Everything's different. Mine went for 23 and a half years. I was very blessed to have that 23 and a half years, with my brother's kidney, and for it to work that long. But yeah, it just ran its course.
Hmm. Is your first disease? Can you say the name of it one more time? The
It's
disease.
called Eagle-Barrett syndrome or prune belly syndrome. It's referred to two different ways. It's basically I was born with a lack of abdominal muscles. So if you think of a baby bird, how big their stomach is, if you Google prune belly syndrome, that's exactly what it looks like, is a baby bird, except it's a human being with a big stomach. Sometimes people have their bowels and other things can be born and they can be outside of their body. Mine was all inside, but my stomach muscles didn't develop. My urinary tract didn't completely develop. Kidneys can be underdeveloped, as well as your manhood can be underdeveloped. But luckily, mine's not. So that worked good. But mine was mostly abdominal stuff.
Yeah, that's and like I say, every time we on the show, we always hear something new. But did that stop you from being active when you were younger? Anything like that?
No, I still played football. I still wrestled. I played tennis. I played baseball. Wrestling was my sport. I was a decent wrestler. Football, I always like to joke and say I was a third string water boy. But hell, when I was a kid, man, I was just a little bitty dude. I I graduated high school, I wrestled 119 pounds, and I didn't have to lose weight to make that weight either for high school. So, I was a small kid. If somebody was going to hit me on the football field, they'd probably break me in half. So it's probably good that I wasn't out there. But, I was there. My whole reason I played football was to get in shape for wrestling season anyway. So it was kind of different for me. But no, I never let it hold me back from anything. It's never, I've never known anything different. People ask me what it's like, and I don't know what it's like. I've never had abdominal muscles to know what that would be like, but I can't do setups or anything unless someone holds my feet, and that's all back muscle. When I wrestled, it was tough sometimes when I'd be in certain positions, but you just find ways to adapt and overcome. So it's just kind of how it is.
Yeah, it's almost like you can't miss what you never had. If you
Yeah,
never had them, you can't miss them. So
exactly.
when you said you were like 20, and that's when you got your first transplant, 21,
I was 22 when I had my first transplant.
22. Okay.
Yeah,
And
they
so
usually with
did you go?
Eagle-Barrett syndrome, you don't live very long. It was amazing that I even lived into my teens, and because back then it was very unknown disease. Now there's actually a support group on Facebook, which is kind of cool to see because I grew up not knowing anybody else with this condition. There's about 1,500 members on this group page, so it's really kind of neat to see people with the same situation as me. Some people have it worse, some people have it better. I'm kind of right in the middle of the PBS group on where I am with things that's happened to me. So, there's one guy I talked to the other day on there that was born with one kidney. So, it's different for everybody on what effects they get from it.
How old were you when you first started noticing when you had to go to the doctor for the nephrologist for the kidney challenges?
Um, I've known that since I was in grade school because I had kind of one kidney was kind of underdeveloped. The other one was fully developed and worked well. But when I was an infant, I had reconstruction on my urinary tract. So they've literally had tubes tied from my kidneys down to my bladder. I got a big scar that goes all the way down me, and that's from that surgery from the reconstruction. So it's always been known I was going to have kidney issues at some point. It's just a matter of when.
23 years, man. That's pretty good. Like you said, average like 10 to 15. So, for you to pull out 23, um, what was your mental mind state, you know, um, after that kidney failed and you had to, go back through the process again?
Um, I've got pretty strong faith, so it didn't phase me as a bit. I wasn't worried about it because I knew there'd be a positive outcome. So I didn't let it shake me. The only thing I didn't like the fact is that I was going to have to do dialysis and probably miss days at work and stuff like that. But when it came down to the transplant part and the surgery, none of that worried me because I've been there before, and I've had so many surgeries in my life, they just don't phase me. So I have a lot of trust in the doctors. I have trust in the Lord, knowing that I'm building a testimony here on this earth for other people. So yeah, I wasn't too worried about it at all.
Yeah, you sound a little bit like me. I think when you have so many of these surgeries, I mean, could probably attest to it too. It just kind of
Yeah.
becomes something that you just kind of do. It's like, oh, okay, another procedure. Let's go ahead
Yeah.
and get this over with so I can go home now.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. And then you worry about the anesthesia because you've had so many. I've laid there sometimes wondering if it's not going to put me out because I'm like, did you put it in? Yeah, we put it in. You're going to be going to sleep now. And I'll sit there for a couple. Okay, but I'm not asleep. And and I'll say something. But then I end up waking up, and I'm like, oh, okay, there we go.
yeah, that actually happened to me. I had a procedure for something. Who knows what it was at the time, and the doctor, they put the medicine in, and they're like, all right, count from 10, count backwards from 10. So I did count it from backwards from 10, and I'm like, so when's this supposed to kick in? And he's like,
Yep.
you still up? I'm like, yes. And like we're literally slaying. I'm laying there, we're having a full blown conversation.
Yep.
Like, and they're looking at me like, how is this dude still awake?
Yep. I've had
As
that.
I'm like, It's like every other medicine. Once you've taken it for so long, your body just kind of gets used to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was a funny one because like he was like dealing with his tools and stuff, and then he heard me still talking. He like looked over like, "Why are you up still?" Hey
Yep.
man,
I had that happen
it's
too. I'm laying there and I'm like, hey guys, I'm not asleep yet. And he kind of looks down over at me, like, what the heck's going on? Or they start moving me around in a different position. I'm like, where are you guys moving me for? And they're like, oh, hold on a second. And then all of a sudden I'm out. But
right.
yeah, I've had that happen. So
What's crazy about it that these stories are they're so relevant to us because we've seen these things and we've had these things happen to us. Like both of your stories are so identical like mine. I've had situations where they over medicated me trying to get me to sleep where then you're so foggy for the next couple of days and things like that. So these stories are just they're not comical but they're just reflective, I would
yeah.
say.
Well, and it reminds me of another time when you brought that up because they brought that up about we're gonna have to give you an extra dose because what woke me up is I kind of went out and I came back to and I heard Ozzy Osbourne playing in the OR, and then I kind of opened my eyes. I said, "Is that Ozzy?" And he goes, "Okay, we're gonna have to give you more." I just remembered that when you were talking about that. So, but I don't
Oh
ever have
man,
any
yeah.
issues waking up from anesthesia. For me, it seems like I always wake right up. I don't know if you feel the same way sometimes, but heck, some people
The
say
only
how they're
time,
groggy, and not me. I'm like awake.
the, the only time when they had to give me more, I was groggy. But other than that, when I wake up, I'm usually good. And I had my share of procedures like you guys, so I usually wake up and I feel really really good. So let me ask you something. So you're doing the cycler nowadays, right?
Yeah, peritoneal at home.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, and I'll tell you,
How,
man, it's so much better than in center hemo. I feel so much better, because I'm getting that treatment every day and that consistency every single day. And so, my energy level's a lot better than what it was. My blood pressure's a lot more stable than what it was. My weight's stable. I can eat a little bit. I still watch what I eat and I still diet, and everything, but it's not as picky, on some things. So,
right. Still doing the binders and everything like that, but I don't
yeah, I
know if
think
it's any
5.
different. Yeah, five, five. I wonder if it's any different. Like, I mean, I know it's different from your nutrition because when I was on hemo, it was a lot stricter. So it
Yeah,
was it was like you had to watch everything, and then I
right.
didn't have any urine output either. So
No, I
it was
still don't.
really really yeah, yeah. And so that was really really critical right there, fluid, especially in the summertime. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, and it's hard to gauge being a dialysis patient in summer because you want to be outside, you want to walk or maybe go do things, and you sweat out
right.
water, and you don't want to over drink your water because then you got on too much fluid weight. So yeah, summer can be a really hard time to kind of adjust to and everything when you're on dialysis. So same thing
Right.
with peritoneal too, because there's different strengths of that fluid that you use, and and
Yeah.
you want to make sure you're tracking your weight and your blood pressure so you know what fluids to use. So yeah,
Right.
but you
Right.
can fluid overload on PD just like you can on nocturnal and hemo. So you just got to watch yourself and be smart.
That's actually true. Are you taking the bags that pull off fluid? Or are you usually pretty consistent with the normal bags?
I typically will use like 2 yellows and a green. So I'll use two of the really small ones and then one that's a medium. And when I and I always look at it like when I was on hemodialysis, they would do it on an up and down, where they would pull some and then you'd rest and then pull some. So when I
Right.
set up my cycler, I'll do a yellow, a green, and then a yellow. So that way I get
Yeah.
some because those bags mix together, right, into one bag.
Right.
So that way you get some green mixing with yellow. That way you get more consistency of a pull off while you're sleeping at night, so you don't wake up. So I feel good when I wake up. So it's been
That's
working
good.
for me.
No red bags ever when you got to pull hard, like on Labor Day weekend or something like that.
No, luckily I won't have to. I did use a red bag on Friday night because I had a cheat day on Friday, and I had a large, well, not a large, but it was a good sized root beer that I drank on top of my 32 ounces of fluid, and so that night I did use a red. So my blood pressure wasn't bad. It was 152 over 87, and my pulse was 62. But it was high enough where I was like, all right, I'll just go ahead and use the Reds and pull this out. And that's what I did, and it worked fine.
Right. That's the intricate parts that I like talking to individuals, because once you start understanding your body, you know what you can do and what you can't do. You can, like you said, hey, I could have this root beer and enjoy it. I have a cheat day, but it's not a cheat month. It's not a cheat week, anything like that. And you know what you can do to compromise for that, like take the bag and mix it in there because it'll pull off the extra fluid. I like these things once you start getting to understand your body and what you can do and what you can't do. And those are the intricate parts where it goes back to knowing your body, knowing yourself, and listening to your body. Again, a lot of times people they don't know their bodies, and when you know your body, you know what you can do, kind of, and what you can't do.
Yeah, and you
And I
feel
like
it too. You feel it with your energy. You feel it in your abdominal because I have to walk around with 1,500 in dwelling during the day. And so, that already makes you feel like you've already got enough food in your system. But if you
right,
overdrink or you overeat, that fluid that's already in there, you're going to feel that pulling, and it's just going to, swell you up a little bit more on your stomach. So, you can feel it just on the way you feel too. It's like you're
right,
saying, you get used to the routine, and you know what a good day and a bad day and an okay day feels like, and you know what you need to do to keep the good days going. So,
right, right. And that's really really important as you get into this. And you've been doing it for a little while. You start learning your body, and like you said, you can do it. I remember one time I was really really fluid overloaded, and I did a PD, not the automated, but the manual kind of, when I did mine. I did it for 6.5 years. And I had to pull some fluid off of me. I did 3 red bags, and I didn't know how hard it pulled. It pulled, man. It made me feel like crap. It was like my whole body. I could tell my muscles and everything started cramping up, and I had to change because
or
I thought I could just do that. But
had to
when you
down the
do the
water
red
that morning.
yeah, yeah. When you do the red bags and stuff, you definitely want to mix it up with a green or a yellow and something like that to keep it like even keel, and not just pull yourself down, 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 because that
Right.
could be catastrophic. It is really painful when that can happen. So
Yep. Yeah. No, and the only issue, I've only had one time where I hurt myself during PD and I got air in the line and I didn't clear it out. And that ruined my whole day because that hurt, man. It hurt right up into my
yeah.
shoulder blades and everything. I've heard about it, but I've never experienced it. But what happened is my line got caught in the door. And so
Mm,
when I pulled it out, I didn't reprime it. You know how you prime the pump on it. I didn't prime it a
right.
second time, and I should have, and that's what got air in my line that was about 2 inches that went in my peritoneum, and yeah, that was very uncomfortable.
How'd you get it out? It just worked itself out eventually, or what?
It's worked itself out over a couple days. Yeah, I was hoping
Okay.
I'd be, I was wanting to fart and everything, and I talked to my nurse. I was like, "Can I blow this out of my oven?" And she's like, "It's in your peritoneum. It's not in your intestines." And I was like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense." So yeah, I was
Right.
trying to fart, burp, do what I could, and then I talked to my nurse, and she just laughed at me, and she's like, "It's in your peritoneal cavity. It's not in your stomach. It's not in your intestines." I'm like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense."
Right. Have you ever experienced peritonitis?
No, no, thank God.
Good.
I've
Good.
done really good, man. I make sure that I when I'm cleaning my lines, I scrub on them for a minute, and then I dry them off for about a minute before I hook up. And yeah, I make sure windows are closed, fans are off, vents are closed. Yep, I clean my area every day, morning and night. So yeah, I don't want it. I've heard nightmares about it. I've heard people getting put in the hospital
Nightmare.
because of it. I think you guys talked about a
Here,
horror
here.
story. Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
You talked about it on one of your shows one time, and yeah, man, that's
Seven
not
days,
something
man. It was
yeah,
painful.
yeah, that's something I don't want to experience.
Yeah, I
I
didn't
never
really have
forget
to
when I
deal
was
with
getting.
the pain issue too much with parents, and I've had it. But the one thing I do want to say is that you can catch peritonitis and be the cleanest person in the world. It's not really. I mean, it's something that you can be preventative of, you yourself of, being sterile and, like you said, turn off fans and closing doors and windows and things like that. But it could still happen regardless of that. And I didn't know until recently, um, when I got it, and they were like, well, I guess they did a certain test that lets them know, what it was caused from. And so when my nurse that came back to me on my appointment, she was like, we know it wasn't your fault. It was just, kind of something that happened. And what we think it was from was I actually ended up getting a hole in my line. And what's crazy about that is actually it's the second time that's happened to me. But the crazy part about the second time is I was at the hospital for something else. Actually, I was in the emergency room, and I was in there for I had a real small amount of pain, just kind of in the area of my peritoneal catheter, and so I was in the emergency room and we're making sure, checking fluid and stuff like that, and I was sitting there talking to the dialysis tech. I've known this dude for a minute now. Been kind of in and out for some years, but we were sitting there talking, and I was telling him about the first time it happened, and I was telling him about how small the hole was, because the hole was like if somebody took a pin needle and stuck it and took it out, you couldn't tell until you bent in that area and it opened, and then fluid would shoot out, right? And so the second time I was talking to him like, yeah, first time I had a hole in it and this and that. And as I bent it to show him what I was, what I just referred to you, it shot out my line. And I'm like, and I was like, just like that. Because as soon as I bent,
Was it the line that went into your stomach, or was it the line from the bag?
no, it was the line from my stomach.
You must
Wow.
have kinked it or something. I've done that where you kink it, and that
Yeah.
scares the heck out
Yeah.
of me every
I
time I
have.
do it.
I have
Yeah.
also. Did they have to go back in, Phil, and replace your line?
No, so what they do is, of course, depending on where the hole is. See, for me, the hole was literally at like the detachable part of it. It's a little metal part, kind of like
Right.
about this far from your stomach. Where it can detach, and they can, where they change it and stuff like that. And so it was literally, yep,
Yeah.
yep,
Right there. Yep.
mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And what happened was it was right after the silver part, right after the little metal part, where they disconnected. So what they did was they cut below it, right below it. They cut it and then reattached that the little metal part to it, and then reconnected a new top line part of the line to it, and went from there. Because it wasn't, if it was like further down, closer to my stomach, then yeah, they probably would have had to, put me on hemo for a while and redo that
Yeah.
whole procedure, to put another one in. But it was far,
Yeah.
far up enough for them to just have to change it.
Hmm.
Yeah, 4 years into my peritonitis journey, man. My line got a hole in it, and the whole line inside my stomach has scar tissue in it. The whole
Wow.
internal line inside. They did an X-ray, so they had to go in and take it out, let my stomach heal back up, put me on hemo for like it was like 4 or 5 months. Then I got another surgery, and they put it in a different spot in my abdomen. But the whole line, they said they pulled it out. They said it had a lot of scar tissue all around it and everything. And they said it could have happened because I was pretty active at the time, still exercising and working out and things like that. So they said that's probably what happened. But
Hmm. I never even thought about something like that happening, the scar tissue in there, but And that was inside the holes where it was going into, or was it on the outside of it connecting and stuff?
It was internally inside
Oh
me.
wow.
Like, yeah. And what was crazy about that line, I never forget, was soon as I would take, like, I would be hooked up and I'll take out and be and start the process of dwelling, and then I would stand up and I could feel the line like inside me when I had no fluid in me and I was about to put another bag in. And I was like, wow, this is weird. And
Hmm.
so yeah, that's what happened. And the reason why I had to go off PD after 6.5 years was my peritoneal sac. Phil knows this. My peritoneal sac burst on my side because they started making me do bigger bags. So they had me doing, first I was doing 2,500 cc bags, and then all of a sudden they was making me do 3,000 because I needed more dialysis. So once that happened, my peritoneal sac burst on my side, and I was in the hospital, had septic for 70 days. And it was bad. It was really really bad when that happened.
Yeah, that's what I do. 3,000, five cycles of 3,000.
Yeah, but they said the 3,000 is not good to walk around with, and I was doing it manually,
Oh, Genie
having my
Chris.
fitness.
Yeah, no, oh, mm-mm.
Yeah, and I was walking around owning my own gym at the time, exercising people with 3,000, and I looked weird, man. I had this big extended stomach, and then and I felt like I was always full, like I could never eat any
Yep.
food. I would just eat a little bit of food, and yeah, it was crazy, man. Yeah.
Wow.
So Shane, let me ask you this question. Because you mentioned you had 1,500 in throughout the day. What bag do you use for your last fill?
I'll use a yellow 1.5%. So I
Okay,
use the smallest one, the least
right.
amount that'll pull. So not a lot. And then sometimes, maybe 2 or 3 times a week, I might do midday where I'll drain it out and refill it, depending on how I'm feeling. Because some days I'll feel like like it's like I'm more full than others, and I'll go and I'll drain and I'll go drain off 18 or 1900, and then I'll put in another 1500 just because I get uncomfortable. So just depends on the day, though. I don't have to do it. I just do it when I want to. And my nurse says, she goes, well, that's good to do it anyways because you're getting more dialysis, so they don't have no problem with it.
Right.
So
Right.
That's crazy because I'm surprised you haven't dealt with not necessarily fluid overload, but um your body absorbing that yellow.
oh yeah, I do.
Yeah. So so
Yeah.
I consider myself lucky with the team that I have. But my doctor actually put me on a purple bag, which is 7.5. So 7.5 allows you to go the whole day without it absorbing until, of course, a certain point. You go, 30, 32 hours, and yeah, it'll probably start, at that point. But it's meant to it's meant to stay in you and work throughout the day, without your body absorbing it so quickly, like like a regular yellow, green, or red bag. And so I love it. As soon as I get on, it drains all that out, and I'm like, oh, okay, that feels much better. Because, but what's crazy is that so like when I do my KT over V testing, they want you to go uh
1.5.
well, no, not 1.5. I do greens, 2 greens of 5,000 liter bags of a grain. Um, but the thing about with KTOV is, like, for me, I guess it may not be the same for you because I'm doing 7.5 bags, which is a little, has a different with dextrose and stuff. But um, they tell me not to do a last fill on those days so it doesn't mix in, with your fluid and stuff. Because you have to take, when you get done, you have to get a specimen cup and put about 10 cc's in a cup and take it when you go do your blood work. So for me, it's I think because my body's gotten so used to a last fill, like when I go dry, it's like feels like the worst day ever. It feels like I can't breathe. like I don't have that room anymore to like, deep breath in and out. And I'm like, literally, I'll do nothing that day. I won't. I will barely eat. I barely drink anything because then it feels like I'm fluid overloading and I'm not.
Hmm.
But yeah, I've never heard somebody having to go the whole day with the yellow, green, or red. Normally, like 'cause what they've done while I was in the hospital, um, they would say, okay, I want you to put 1,700, 2,000 in of green at the end, and then they'll drain it out like 3 hours later. So my body won't absorb it. So for you to go the whole day, I mean,
Yeah, and
that's
when I go
pretty
the whole
good.
day, I'll usually only drain off 800 to 1,000 at night.
Oh yeah, because your body's starting to absorb it already.
Right, but when I do
Right,
it, but if I drain during the middle of the day, then I'll usually drain out, you know, 1,500 to 1,800 during the day. When
right.
I drain, I'll usually do that about 1 or 2 o'clock, and then I'll do a refill. It just depends on how I feel. But yeah, if I start feeling too full, I could just let it sit there for 2 hours and it goes away because then I start absorbing. About 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I start absorbing it. So yeah,
Okay.
Let me ask
but
you
no,
this,
the reason I don't,
Shane.
the reason I can't drain, during the day all the time is because of my job. So
Right.
when I'm at work, um, well, it depends. I mean, there's two of my dealerships I can do it at. There's one that I can't because I really don't have a private place to do it. So I don't drain and do it on those days. But the other two dealerships I'll do it there. So that's the best way to say it. But anyways, you had a question, Mr. Cook?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I remember one time when I got peritonitis. I was in the hospital and I was going through a procedure. So the nurse comes in and she goes, "Okay, well, I'm gonna put a new bag in you." And I go, "Okay, fine." She gets all the equipment and she unhooks my line, and I didn't even notice at the time. She came with different equipment that didn't fit up with mine, and it was too late. And that's when I got peritonitis in the hospital because she didn't look at my line to see what kind it was, and was not, and found out that it was not compatible. So she was like, "Oh, I apologize," and I had the old cap in, and while my new, is not working, and so she was like, "Just put the old cap on." But once you take the old cap off,
Yeah, you
and I
can't put
did
that
that,
back on.
it
Mm-mm.
was a wrap, man, and that was, and one thing about like I said, with my peritonitis, I'm in a fetal position because it's so painful. They would give me the other medicine to try to reverse this stuff and pain medicine, but it would be painful for me. My back would be real cloudy, and it'd be painful, man.
Yeah, I've got these meds. She said if I ever get like a peritonitis symptoms or anything, I've got these pills of my closet that I'm supposed to start popping right away until I can get in there and get seen.
Right.
So I don't know what they are. I just know what I'm supposed to do with them.
That's the
Another question I
important
was,
thing, what to do with them.
yeah, just take them. Right.
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 Another question I was going to ask you was, are you pretty active nowadays, or doing your dialysis? Are you exercising anything like that?
Yeah, I try to do 30 minutes of some type of cardio every day. So whether it
Good.
be,
Good.
mostly it's just walking though. I mean, even when I'm at work, I'll
Hmm.
go outside because we have big lots, and so I'll go out and I'll walk around the lot and stuff and look at inventory and look at cars, and I'll do that for 10 minutes, 3 days, 3 times a day, and just to make sure things are in order. And so that's one way that I get exercise in, while I'm at work. And then I've got this other thing. It's a little pedal thing that goes on the ground, and you can put it underneath your desk. So I've got this pedal thing that I can use. I've got it here at the house too. So yeah, there's ways I try to do things to keep myself active. Plus, I mean, you feel better when you do it too. If you just lay around all the time, you're gonna feel like crap. So you got to
Right.
get yourself up and be active and do things. So
Right. That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted to hear. You being active, because that plays a big part, especially going through this. I can't lie, man. I did it. Close to 12 years. you do get some depression, you know. So how do you feel with that? You know, your mental. You sound like you're real stable and everything's going good, but do you get you do we do get those down days every now and then? I mean, tell me.
Yeah, I mean, you do get them, sometimes, but I just look at the brighter side of things and knowing that this is just a temporary thing for me, and there's light at the end of the tunnel, and that I just got to have faith and know that I'm going to get there. So I try to not dwell on negatives and keep my mind on the things that are positive, that are moving forward, and that's how I keep doing it. So, but yeah, you can easily get depressed, especially the in-center chemo was where it could be the most depressing because you have people around you in a worse shape than you, and you feel bad for them, sitting there. I can't tell you the amount of times I've felt so bad for people. I'm sitting there going through the same, but hell, there's people in there worse than me. So then you
Right.
start making friends with some of them, right? And then things are happening to them where they're getting put in the hospitals. I've had 5 people that's
Uh,
died that I've done dialysis with. So you go through those losses too. So there's a lot of things that beyond our treatments that happens in a personal level, within the dialysis center too. Because I guarantee people that do dialysis, they know everybody's names there. They know some of their medical situations. Because I mean, hell, we're sitting by each other for 3.5 to 4 hours a day, and we sit there and we get to know about each other and our families and plans and things like that. So yeah, that's the
it's
most
almost like
depressing part to
it's
me.
right. It's a community, and you start caring for the others. You know, I've seen people when I was on hemo, bottom out and things like that, and it could be your friend right next to you, and you'd be like, oh man, you know, and
Yep.
then it's crazy because you see that happening, and then you turn around and you're on the same thing, and that could be a morale beater. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I do see where you can it could be a lot better when you're doing it just by yourself because you're not around that atmosphere. But
Right.
sometimes you can bring that atmosphere up when you come in with good energy and stuff like that. You know, I used to, like Phil knows, I used to bring small weights to the dialysis center, and people would be looking for me to do it, and it was a morale, a riser. People were happy, just doing a little bit of something, and just like you said, moving the body makes you happy. You know, that
Yeah.
dopamine hits. I don't care if you walking or walking up some steps or just move your arms or something like that. It's going to be more of a benefit. So you're right.
Yeah, I heard you telling your story, on one of your other broadcasts where you were in the waiting room and helping people in the waiting room at the dialysis centers with different weights and stuff like that and stuff.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's cool, man. I do the same type of thing with my Midwest kidneys. I've got 4 dialysis centers that I go to, and I just go around chair to chair talking to each person and just being there, an ear, somebody that's going through the same stuff as them that they can
Right.
confide different things in. So. Yeah, it
Right.
definitely helps.
With COVID, can you still get in? Can you still go
hmm
in?
Yeah, I got to
Okay,
wear a
good.
mask. I got to
Good.
wear a shield, and then I wear the white robe over the top.
Okay.
So, yep, there's
Good.
a protocol that I. So I wear the same kind of garb that the nurses and the techs are wearing when I'm going around talking to people. So I can definitely see why it gets cold in the dialysis room because them things are hot, man.
Right. Right. And then you're freezing. And
Yeah,
when I was on hemo, I'd be telling them, can you turn the heat up on this machine?
yeah,
Just to warm it up a little bit. That's
right.
that's funny. So when I first started doing peritoneal, and like I said, I did it manually. It was in the wintertime, and I didn't know any difference. I put an ice cold bag in,
Ooh,
Oh boy,
and it was the
ooh,
most
that's not
painful
comfortable.
thing I have
yeah,
ever experienced. It was
yeah.
cold outside. It felt like I had Mr. Chill literally internally inside me, and I just kept on shaking. I didn't know what was going on.
It turn your
It
poop
was
to
it
ice
was
cream
crazy.
too, man. Doing that.
Yeah. For
No.
sure, man. And, and so I called the doctors. They were like, "Oh, we forgot to tell you. You got to warm up the bags in the wintertime." And I was
Yeah,
like, "Okay, but in the summertime, the bag would feel good. The bag would feel good in the summertime.
yeah.
It was
I
cold."
still, yeah, if I'm gonna do a pair, if I'm gonna do an exchange, during the day, I've got a little one of those heating blanket things that you wrap it up in. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'll use that and I'll always warm it up. I don't like the discomfort at all.
Yeah, it's tough.
Mhm.
All
I've
right.
never
Well,
put cold in.
yeah, no, cold is not good. Anytime I put cold in, I have back pains. I don't know what it
That,
is.
see, I didn't know that because my back was hurting at the time too when I did that. But in the summertime, I would put a cold bag in, and it would feel like an air conditioner for a while till my body heated up. It would feel
Mhm.
good,
Right.
but yeah.
Yeah, that
Interesting.
man. That's when I was like, yeah, it's. I gotta remember, the first time I did it, I was like, never again. Like I said, like they gave me uh, uh, the uh, the warmer and stuff, and I'd wrap it up and heat it up like that. That was definitely uncomfortable for me. And it took me a while to start going, to get going, walking and stuff because I was hurting so much, so it takes take a while for it to warm up internally, while it's in you. And yeah, so but I'm gonna go to the commercial real quick and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Before we got on the shirt, check out my man.
I love that. I love that. I love it. Let's
Before we get
do it.
back into these questions, I still ain't figured out how to get these Facebook comments to pop up on this comment section over here. So, want to say thanks to Jonathan Trailer for commenting and sharing. I appreciate you, and special hello to Victoria. She's dealing with some things at the moment right now, and she could definitely use our prayers and kind words. So please pray for Victoria while she's dealing with her additional health situation. Very important person within our Why Not family, and we love you. So let's jump back into these questions, man. I asked you about the first times. Meant to say first time. What did you go through mentally after that second time? When you had to, get back into the hemo, the dialysis ward after your second one failed.
Well, see, I was in the hospital for about it was 6 months from that kidney transplant surgery, from the artery and the hematoma that formed in my stomach, because then I ended up with a bacteria infection in my blood, and so I had to get on some pretty strong drugs to get that out of me. That was causing some hallucinations, and I lost my balance and I lost some ability to talk and stuff. So there was some rehabilitation I had to do. So I ended up in a nursing home to go through that. So I don't. So when that kidney fell the second time, I don't remember a lot of the dialysis because I was out of my mind. But I do remember starting to go back to dialysis when I was put in nursing home, and so that was kind of it wasn't so bad because the staff at the Davita that I went to in Atumwa was awesome. Like they were a lot of fun, and they were like upbeat type of people. So it wasn't that bad for me. But at the end, I still wanted to do my PD because it was kind of hard, doing that 3 days a week. So, but it was also depressing because it shouldn't have been, in my opinion, and the opinion of some other people too. But that's another time. But yeah, it
Yeah.
sucked, man. I wasn't happy about it at all, and I did have some time where I was upset about things too, but that lasted probably a couple weeks, and I just had to get my mind set right back to what I needed to do to get myself right, and that's how it went. So definitely a tough time though.
So
Did you do? Go ahead.
no, go ahead, Miss Cook. You good?
I was going to say during that time and everything, and now, how's your support system going? Been?
Good, man. I mean, the dude that gave me the kidney is my best friend, Brad. He was with me a lot when I was in the hospital. Because I was in three different places, three different hospitals, during that whole time, getting transferred and stuff. And he was there a lot for me. Heck, one of my friends from grade school, she even came and clipped my toenails one day for me when I was in bed. So, and then my parents were always there for me too. So, I had a really good support system that was always there with me and visiting me and everything too. So, yeah, I don't think there was a day I was in the hospital by myself. I always had somebody there, whether it be a friend or family member.
That's awesome, man. That's good to hear.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely good. Even the days I don't remember. I mean, because they were telling me things that I was doing and saying, when I was on those drugs for that bacteria infection that I don't even remember. So, but yeah, that I was mumbling and everything, and I thought there was a gunfight one day in the hospital. Another day, I thought there was a nurse that kept trying to kill me, and yeah, it was nuts, man. And and then
Yeah.
someone kept looking in the window. People kept coming to my window and looking at me. That was the other thing that they always told me about, that I kept freaking out because people kept looking in the window and I was getting upset that they were staring at me. And I was like on a
Yeah.
fourth floor.
Wow. Yeah. Those I've had some hallucinations. Like I never forget. I thought I could go play basketball. For some reason, I kept on trying to get up. Like I'm gonna go play basketball, and I got upset and I grabbed all the lines that were in me and ripped them up and everything. And I woke up and they had me cuffed to the bed and
I had
everything. And I was like, "What's going on?"
I had boxing gloves on, dude. I did the same thing. I ripped my IVs and everything out of me, and they put these boxing glove things on me one time, and it used to make me so mad because I couldn't do anything with my hands, and they put those darn gloves on me. I hated it.
Yeah, I think
And I
we've
couldn't
all
get a
been in
dip
that
of chew. That was
situation.
the other thing. I kept fighting them for dip of chew all the time. I always wanted some chewing tobacco every single time, man.
That's
Yeah, it's
crazy, man. I'm
I
telling
think
you. Go ahead, Phil.
we've been in that situation where we've had to be tied down a few times, because especially when uh you might have went out and you were fine and un attached to something, and you regular suddenly you wake up and now you like laying like this, hooked to something, and that's how I'm a crafty person. So um my funny story is I was in the hospital and they had to intubate me, and
Mm.
I woke up and I'm like, I guess it happened at the time, I passed out or something, and had to do it after I kind of went out. And I remember I woke up and I'm like, you do that like little pull, like, wait a minute, what's going on? Why can't I, move my arms and stuff? And I looked and I realized that I had the tube in, but I don't know if it was positioned wrong or what, but it just felt like I couldn't breathe. As opposed to when it's
Mm.
placed the right way and everything is fine, you can just sit there and chill. You still have that, you can breathe, you can feel it. And don't ask me what went through my mind in this process, but for some reason, I was like, I got to get this out my mouth because this is not the best feeling. So even though I was like, strapped to the rails, I like turned my way over to my hand and
Oh,
pulled. Wait a minute. The funny part about it was when I did it this time, I didn't know. See, because I've never really paid attention to what the doctors do when they pull it out. So I had no idea that there's a balloon that gets pumped on the inside.
Yes.
just
So
like a
as I'm
Yes.
catheter.
pulling it, I'm like, why is it so hard to come out? TV and stuff you see the dude just go whoop. And I'm like, and I'm laying there and I'm like, and I finally got it out. Again, don't ask me how I moved over enough or what, but I just boop boop pulled it on out, and the nurse came in. It was like looked at me, and she's like, "Did you pull that out?" And I'm like, "Nah,
Mm.
I didn't pull it. No, me put what?" And she was like, "So how did it get out?" I was like, "Man, I don't even know what to tell you." I have no clue what happened. I said all I can tell you is that I can breathe just fine. You do not need to put another one back in. I am okay. And so of course, doctors and nurses don't take your word for nothing. So, they watched me for a couple hours and saw that my breathing actually was fine. They was like, okay, we don't have to put it back in you. It's like, because if you was having any problem, the smallest amount of problems, we was putting another one back in there. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna need you not to
I
do
can't believe
that.
you pulled it out, man. I
Oh
can't
yeah,
believe you pulled it out, man.
oh
That's
yeah, I
crazy.
pulled it out with no problems. I was, I'm yoink. I was like, this got to go because I told you, man, it was so uncomfortable. I could not breathe. I guess we've all had that situation. We've been intubated before, and comfortable from uncomfortable in those situations, and it just felt like it was not, and it wasn't like down the middle. It was like off to the side, and and I'm
Mm.
like, yeah, this is
Mm.
not working for me. So guess what?
Mm.
This got to go. And I was just like, it took like a deep breath, and I just felt so much better. I was like, all right, that's good. It's like when
See?
it's hot, like you saying, hot in the summertime, you get that
And them
cold
things
water,
got
and you like,
slime,
woo.
dude.
You said what?
I said, and them things got slime all over it because they KY jelly them things up to go down your
Right.
throat
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So I mean, usually you need suction and stuff, because I woke
Right.
up. I've been there when they've had to pull those out of your throat, and you get all it's like a dentist has to use that suction thing because
It's
otherwise you
horrible.
choke on
Right.
water and
Right.
goop.
Right.
I don't know how you
Right.
did it. Did you spit
Oh yeah,
anything up or nothing?
I was determined. I
How
was
long?
determined.
How long was that down in you? Do you know?
Um, it had to be some hours because it was like I remember it being the same day because it was like later in the like evening or nighttime when I woke
Wow.
up and
I hate them things, man. I do not like it. I know you
well
don't really feel it, but I just don't like it. I don't like the idea of something having to breathe for me. And the
right,
whole, I remember pointing at it and going like this
Right.
the whole time to take the
Right.
dang thing out. And
Right.
yeah,
You
I
know,
definitely don't like
I've
it.
heard I've heard some stories, but I have never heard nobody pulling out their own.
uh-uh.
Okay,
Oh yeah.
that's weird. That's weirded me out, and I didn't been
That's
through it
kind
all.
of
And I was
badass.
like,
That's
whoa,
actually badass, man. I mean,
Hey, you
pulling
know
that
what?
out.
that's
But
wow, bro.
to reverse it, I actually asked for one to get put in. I was having a issue. I was that an emergency? I think I was admitted already, and I was having this bad situation. I was feeling like crap. Like everything was out of whack. Blood pressure was horrible. Like everything was bad. And I passed out. And the doctor, the nurse happened to walk in like right before I woke up, so they saw it because I was asleep with my head at the foot of the bed. Now, how I got like that, I don't know, right?
Mm.
So I remember just kind of like sitting up, and the nurse was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I feel all right." And she was like, "Okay, because you passed out." And I'm like, "Yeah, wouldn't have known if I don't know, I was supposed to know that one, but okay." And it was, everything, like I said, started going our way. Stuff started beeping, and doctors and stuff coming in, and I'm like, I I felt like I had to go to the bathroom, but I couldn't go to the bathroom, and I'm like, this is not good at all, and I could feel myself, not being able to breathe, and I told the doctor, I said, look, I said, put me to sleep and intubate me. I said, do it now. He wants to try to go around the bush and go through every other little thing. I'm like, look, just do it. He trying to give me mask to breathe in. I'm like, this ain't helping. It's making it worse. And I'm like, look, just do it. I said, because you're going to look up and be laying here dead and not breathing as opposed to hardly breathing. And, he was like, all right. He was like, is that what you want? I'm like, yes, I've been asking you to do this for the past 20 minutes. And so I remember the doctor told the nurse to go get the medicine for them to put me to sleep, and he gave it to me like right before I went to the elevator. And at going in the elevator, it was like a movie. As the elevator doors was closing, I was going out. It was just like,
Oh.
and all I could see was darkness. I'm like, yep, it's a wrap now. Woke
Mm-hmm.
up, had a breathing tube in. I'm like, man, I said, if he waited probably another 5-10 minutes longer, it'd have been a wrap for me.
Hmm.
I'm like, and I'm pretty sure he's never been in a situation where he was asked to intubate somebody, and that I've had to do it again because the doctor wanted to give me a breathing treatment. But breathing treatments, what I found out recently was when I don't have like a wheeze or anything, a breathing treatment is actually bad for me. What
Hmm.
the difference is, I don't know, but um, he tried to give me a breathing treatment. I tried to tell him, like, look, this is not going to work. It's going to make it worse. So as he gave it to me, I'm like, look, if you're going to give me this, you might as well go ahead and just intubate me and put me to sleep. Because all I was asking for was a regular mask with oxygen. I'm like, give me that. I'm fine. I'll be good till you get the meds and stuff ready and everything. And I think he realized, like, I'm like, look, I'm like, just intubate me. And he looked and he was like, do you want to just try the mask? I'm like, yes, I've been asking you for that for the longest, and y'all want to continue to give me this breathing treatment. So he was like, yeah, I'd rather just go with this. It's better than intubating you. We don't have to. So he gave me the oxygen mask, and everything was good from there. Yeah, I got some crazy stories. I think we all do.
Shane, what are your hobbies, Shane? What do you like to do?
TikTok.
Yeah. I do a lot of different TikTok stuff. I like to have fun on TikTok. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy. I don't have the hobbies that I used to have. I used to really enjoy riding a motorcycle and fishing and things. But since I got this tube in my gut, I won't go on a boat in water because I don't want to take a chance of falling in, and I don't ride a motorcycle anymore because I don't have the balance I used to have. So anymore, it's just I go to sporting events, or I'll go to movies, or I'll go to musicals or things like that. That's stuff that I kind of I had to change the way that I live, because of this. So yeah,
Right.
I would love to be able to get back into jiu-jitsu and things like that, but that's never going to happen again. So
What kind of motorcycles did you ride?
I had a VTX 1300. So
Nice.
it's nice. I loved it, man. It was a baby blue color bike. Kind of looked like a Softail is the best way to explain it.
Right.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
those
but
are
it was
hot.
nice. Yeah. Sold it to a
I
to a
think
buddy of mine. Well, his wife bought it for him for a surprise. So
okay. I think once you get your kidney back and everything, you'll get your strength in your legs and everything. Because that's one thing I noticed when I got my transplant. I was so much stronger that you'll be able to go back to handling bike and go fishing and
yeah,
do the things
I
that
think
you enjoy
so.
to do.
I'll probably do it differently and maybe get a three-wheeler or something like that, just because might be better that way. I don't know. I got to find a girl though. I need to find a chick to put on the back. So if y'all know anybody, I'm single and looking.
Hey, for sure, man. I'll definitely hook you up with somebody for sure. Not just
No,
somebody, but
it'll
something
happen in
nice.
God's timing. I ain't worried about it. Right now,
Right.
I got Henry. This is all I need.
I know that's right.
So I got my
I
little
saw
buddy.
Henry. I saw Henry on our dialysis roundtable.
Oh, was I holding him or?
Yeah, you know.
No, okay. Yeah, he likes to show up
I didn't
sometimes.
know. Right, I didn't know his name at the time, but I'm glad you told me his name is Henry now, so I can
Yeah,
say hi to him
that's
when I see him.
that's Henry. He's old, man. He doesn't have any teeth, so his tongue's always stuck out of his mouth and stuff. So
Henry probably
All
said,
right,
well,
for
"Hey man,
sure.
why you telling all my business?"
I know
Right.
he's still got his units. So there you go.
That's all that matters.
There you
He's all
go.
boy.
That's all that matters.
Yeah, that's all it does now.
He got one more than I got.
So,
Where
this
do
is
you
a
go from that?
man. Um, I wanted to touch on how did the because and the reason why I touch it because it's important um for other people out there that are also in the process looking for that first or second transplant that can be donated as a living donor. What was well, how did the conversation go? I know it's a little easier with a brother because that's family, but how did the conversation go with you and your best friend to for him to give you a kidney that second time?
Yeah, it's nothing that I asked for at the time. He just came to me and said he wanted to see if he could donate and help. And we've been friends since we were 12, 13 years old. He's a bodybuilder. I'm only 5'6", with the right shoes on. I'm only 5'6", but and he's like 5'10". He played semi-pro football. He's a big dude. Um, and we matched up, and it was crazy. That they said we were a perfect match. I never did ask what the antigen was or anything like that, but because I didn't care. I just knew we matched. So, um, but he called me and he couldn't believe it either. He's like, dude, they actually told me that I'm able to donate to you and that they scheduled the surgery. And I was like, what? And then it ended up getting
Would
pushed
you
off for a few months, but because of the blood pressure measured high at one time and they wanted it to go down. So, but yeah, it was
you didn't have
crazy,
to do
man.
any you didn't have to
What's
do any
that?
plasmapheresis or any you didn't have to do any plasmapheresis or nothing like that. That's
No,
awesome.
my PRA was only in the 30s. It's 99 now. because of all the blood transfusions I had from the ordeal, with that transplant and everything I went through. So my PRA is sky high now. The hospital that I'm going through at Iowa City, I've talked to him about treatment for it. He does it if it has to be done, but because I'm an AB blood type, he said the weight isn't as bad, and he thinks that I won't need it. And the other thing he said was that sometimes when you do that plasmapheresis thing, it helps to get your antibodies down, but the kidney might not last as longer because eventually that could come back or something and do something to attack it. So, that's not something that he recommended I tried. And I said, you know what, I want to give it the best shot to have a kidney last the longest. So I don't want to do it. So it was my choice not to move forward with that treatment, because I don't want to take any chances of something that could, falter back and cause damage to the kidney. I want to try to get the most out of it I can, because, hell, I'm 47 years old. I'd like to get a kidney last me 20 years. That'd last me the rest of my life, in my opinion. So, I don't think I'll make it to 70. If I do, I'll be surprised. I'll be happy. I'll be old.
Right.
I'll probably have 2 knee replacements by then and a hip, but yeah.
Hey, the key is to get there. So,
yep.
We do what we can to get to that point. We sure we've watched, plenty of people in our family get to that point, and we want to get there and not have to deal with certain other struggles and things like that to hold us back. We'll be able to, live our life. We may be old, but we can still move and do things and be active. And my grandfather, my stepmom's dad, when he, even to the last days when he got hurt and had to go into hospice and things like that, was out walking around the neighborhood. He'd go get his stick, in the morning, go out, walk around, the neighborhood a couple of times, and come back and go in his garden and, do things and stuff like that. I'm like, man, when I get old, I want to be like that, where I can go outside and be on my knees and be in the garden and not worry about it hurt when I get up and,
right,
things of that nature. So, I think that's everybody's goal, is to get to that, grow old and, be able to see grandkids or nieces and nephews and, things like that, graduate, high school, college and stuff like that. So,
yep.
Mr. Cook, you got any more questions?
I have no more questions. It was great talking to you, Shane, for sure, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you inviting me on and have me be a part of this and to help kind of get my name out there and my need out there for everyone to see, and greatly appreciate everything you guys do. So thank you.
Oh yeah, no problem, man. We figured out. I mean, it took me till now, honestly, fair, because like I said before, I didn't really always know people that had, organ failure or anything, but outside of being proactive, for yourself, it takes this transplant family for us to, move forward. When we get back into these positions, we have to help each other out, to get in the best position possible in our life, whether it's finding another transplant, for ourselves or anything like that. So, definitely no problem. It was a pleasure having you on today. So my last question for you that I ask everybody is, what would you want the audience that are maybe watching now or watching the replay of this in the future to take from your interview today?
Just, take that there are people out there, with a need in a way that you can help. If it's not me, help somebody else with the struggling from kidney failure. There's a lot of us out there. I've been, looking for a kidney now for 2.5 years. I need it to have a life, to have a normal life, to not be tethered to a machine for 10 years. So if I could just say anything, please consider donating to me. You can look it up on Facebook. Shane needs a kidney donor, and you can find my information there.
Awesome, man. Well, we definitely hope that comes to you soon, Shane. You're a good guy, and we appreciate everything you're doing, Midwest Kidney Warriors, and helping other transplant patients pre and post as well. So, thank you for everything that you're doing. hope everybody's having a great Labor Day. I think everybody, people in school working, they're like, man, when's the next holiday coming up so I can have off from work and school? Fortunately, I got homework to do, so that's what I'm going to be getting to in the next hour or so. But definitely appreciate everybody watching today. Appreciate watching the replay in the future. We'll definitely be, talking to Shane again in the future, see how he's doing and how things are coming along on his end. Please go check out the Second Chance merch store on Bonfire. That's where he got that great shirt from. I appreciate your support, Shane, 100%.
Yeah, and people definitely go on there and look at that, because it's, when you go on and support a group like a Second Chance, I mean, it's money that they need to, it costs a little bit of money to create these videos, to create these commercials, to, kind of boost things for people. And so, definitely go on there. Shirts are cheap, man. They're only $25, and, they get a little percentage of that they can use to help other people. So it's not like money that's going in their pocket. This is definitely going in people like me's pocket and other kidney warriors out there. So definitely go on there and support these guys and support a Second Chance. So thanks for having me too. Thank you.
Thank you, Shane. Appreciate you. So we'll be back next Sunday, normal time, 5 o'clock Pacific time, 8 o'clock Eastern time. Mr. Cook, again, I appreciate you being on, every week. Mr. Cook's been on vacation and he took so many trips. I don't even think I've been on that many trips in the past 10 years. So, he's kind of surpassed me on the trip level, but glad you made it out there safe. What'd you say?
Thank you. A lot of them are work trips also. So
hey man, a trip is a trip. If you
yeah, you're right.
But glad you got to see your son in Houston and stuff, and you made it out there safe and back home. Appreciate you, being on every week, when you can. I know sometimes things get, they just like, hey, can't do it. I've been in that situation myself. So, but again, like I said, next Sunday we'll be back, same place, same time, and everybody have a great day. Appreciate you guys being on.